Hey everybody, Ryan here from Ryan O, and today is April 14th, and that is the anniversary of John Wilkes Booth assassinating Abraham Lincoln at Ford's Theater. And it's kind of a poetic irony, if you want to call it that, because just a few days ago was episode 6 of Manhunt, which we'll review now. But the very beginning of Manhunt episode 6 is basically, it's John Wilkes Booth's last. And I just kind of find that a poetic irony. I don't know if they intentionally, the creators released the show times to kind of collide with this, but funny that a few days after it was Lincoln being dead, and then a few days after the actual assassination date, Booth in the show would be dead. So, but we see in the very beginning a man walking in the woods with a revolver, and he cocks the revolver back, and we see it's Detective Stanton, or Savior Stanton, and he walks up to a tree. And on the other side of that tree is John Wilkes Booth. He cocks his revolver, and Stanton puts his ear up to the tree and starts smiling, almost like he hears the heartbeat. I don't know. They're like going all around with this, like almost like an intimate relationship between Stanton and Booth. It's weird. So we go on to the beginning of the actual episode, and we see Booth is talking to the young woman at Garrett's farm, wanting some horses. They want to leave. Harold wants to leave immediately, but Booth, basically loving women and loves to be intimate with women, is thinking he might be able to get with this girl for the night. He's like saying, "Can I sleep in your bed or come sleep with me?" Blah blah, all these things. So he's like trying to just get his way. Harold again wants to go, but Booth says we need to trust this girl. If the family doesn't want them there, maybe they could just kill them and take the horses anyway. And they get put in the barn, and the girl locks it, the tobacco barn, so she locks it. And Harold is freaking out. John Wilkes Booth is basically saying a couple stories of how his mom said he has like great hands, like Michelangelo, to do good things with those hands, and he says that was me killing Lincoln. But he says, though, I did meet with a soothsayer, and she said I would die young after like my most major event in my life. And like the funny thing is, I mean, how dead on that was. If that is true in real life, which I know Booth did meet with some people like that, if they actually like predicted that he wouldn't kill Lincoln, but if he like did a major event like assassinating a president and then he would die not long after, I mean, that would be actually really interesting to find out if that was true or not. Booth just shows him a few other things like scrapes. Oh, I got a cut on my face. I got shot in the side. You know, I shot Lincoln and jumped, broke my leg, and I still got out. It's like, you're with me, David. Nothing's gonna happen. And he has a sense of invulnerability. He thinks he's untouchable, which will kind of be his downfall. So we see the cavalry show up, and Boston Corbett literally like runs into the house, like no reconnaissance, nothing. Doesn't even wait for his cavalry unit comrades. He just runs in there, sees the girl, and immediately like shoves a gun in her face and starts like asking where Booth is, where's all the conspirators, like any of these information that she doesn't even probably know. All she knows is that's Booth, but Booth could have used an alias. So she basically just says, "Oh, do you mean the men in the barn?" And they run to the barn. But even the colonel has to tell Corbett to get the gun out of her face. So we go to the barn. Harold sees all the cavalry units show up. Is basically getting to tell John Wilkes Booth, and in actual fashion, Booth wanted to fight. He wanted to like stay in there with Harold and fight. But again, the cavalry unit did not want to do that. So they basically say that they're going to give them a few minutes to decide on what's going to happen, unless they go in there and grab them or something else. In actuality, like in the show, they smoke them out, but that still doesn't technically work. But they light the barn on fire. Harold and Booth are now arguing over what's going on. Harold, of course, being 22, young, is scared. He's nervous. What's happening? Booth is basically ranting on him all these issues, like he left Payne in Washington that got him captured. He didn't help the other conspirators. He didn't pack extra food, new clothes. Wasn't really prepared for what the actual route was, in a way. Like, again, they got lost a few times. So Booth is basically saying all these things, calling him useless, because whenever anything bad happens or anything in life, Booth's father, Brutus Booth, would call everyone useless, and even said that to John Wilkes Booth when he asked him to train him to be an actor. Which, I mean, I don't find to be true. It could be true in real life, but I mean, John Wilkes Booth was still one of the most famous actors in the United States. His family was acting in the United States. Just imagine if it's like Johnny Depp, and Johnny Depp had multiple sons who all wanted to be actors. Well, he's teaching them how to act, and they're also in movies with him, or if Johnny Depp does plays, like they're with him. They're going to be like the most famous names in acting at that time as well, in Hollywood, let's say. So I don't understand why Brutus would call his son useless without even seeing him act first. It's weird. I don't know. I think they might be doing that for the show. But after that, Harold is basically saying, well, then you tell them I had nothing to do with this, if you think I'm useless. Johnny Depp. John Wilkes Booth does this, but in real life, I don't think that happened. Literally, he probably just told Booth he's sorry, or he just got out. He just threw the gun down and put his hands up and walked out, and he got arrested. Booth, again, wanted to fight one-on-one, or he wanted to stay in there and have a shootout. But again, the cavalry was basically saying, no, that's not going to happen. In the show, they show that they let Harold run back in. I don't think that would have happened. Again, you're letting him run into a barn with a guy who's armed to the teeth with guns. They don't know if there's anyone else in the barn. I do like the show, though. I do like the show where they show how Harold does care for Booth. He's like saying, don't let me see you die. Like, they have a friendship, almost. A weird friendship. Like, but it's very interesting. While this is going on, Harold convinces Booth to get up and walk towards the door. I don't know in the show if they show that Booth had the revolver down or dropped it, but Boston Corbett shot Booth through a slat in the wood. That is technically true. Corbett was walking around, said that he saw Booth see a shadow or a silhouette of one of his fellow soldiers, and he was like, hey, I'm not going to let him kill my men. And he shot Booth. It was pitch black that night. The only thing that was that was light was the barn on fire, unless if he's basically saying Booth saw one of the soldiers carrying a torch, which caused him to see a silhouette. We do not know. Again, I personally believe, and a lot of historians believe, that Corbett thought he was talking to God. That God was talking to him. He thought this was his moment, but I think, too, he was doing it for the money. Again, just think $100,000, over $100,000, and then that was mainly just for Booth alone. Now you have Harold, it's like, who was like $50,000 or a little bit less or more, give or take. But now it's like he's thinking that they can all share that, but he would take the fame of killing Booth, which basically he does. He does get fame after that, but he does not get the money, technically. I'll describe that in a little bit. So Booth gets dragged out. They said that Corbett shot him in the back of the head, and you see Corbett's all happy. He's like, you could see my cap, you could see my revolver, I got him in one clean shot. He's like excited about this. I don't know if that's how he was in real life. There's not much of them writing down what happened after that, but Booth did die on the grounds or on the porch, but he was shot through the spinal cord, like right through here. It literally caused him to be paralyzed from the neck down. So again, we kind of see some of that being portrayed in the show. Other elements, no. Another interesting thing is there's 2 famous last words supposedly by Booth, or I guess 3 if you want to be. One was that he says, "Tell my mother I died for my country," and died. The other one is asking a soldier to raise his hands like this. And he basically looked at him and said, "Useless, useless," and died. Some other historians or even doctors said that due to the bullet and also where it was in his neck, that he could have just been speaking gibberish, like, it's like while he was dying. Because one doctor said it would take him a few hours to die with an injury like that, unless because Booth was in a barn on fire and he was breathing smoke inhalation, that could have actually caused his death too. But we don't know. Again, it's like autopsy, which also was a conspiracy, just basically said he died from being shot. So we see Stanton show up like the next morning, like he was traveling all night, got there the morning. Like the soldiers are apologizing that Corbett killed Booth, that they wanted to take him alive, that they got Harold, which was, I mean, no little I mean, Harold didn't really do much. But then Stanton is rubbing Booth's hair like this. It's like, I'm like, why is he doing that? I mean, Stanton wasn't even there to begin with. Again, just to remind you, Stanton was all the way in D.C. throughout the whole chase. He did not do anything. He just had people go out and find Booth. So I don't know why they got these intimate moments with them. It's weird. So we see Stanton grab the diary, and he tells his son to bury the body in the river, but also grab random bodies, like, and throw them in the river, also bury them in the ground. Why? I mean, again, they're thinking that Booth's he wanted fame and people are gonna follow him. I mean, no one really even knew where Booth was. It's weird. But that did not happen. That's the show, again, being a detective drama. Booth's body was actually taken to Washington, D.C. to a fort. This fort is actually where all the other conspirators or alleged conspirators were being arrested and actually held in jail. So just imagine you're one of the conspirators and they're burying Booth in the courtyard of the jail, and you're maybe able to look through the bar windows and see this. Like your buddy, your friend, someone who you thought were going to change the world and restart the Civil War is now dead and being buried there. So I would like to actually see that portrayed in the show, but I don't think they are. Again, they don't really even show which body is Booth's. But they don't even show the autopsy, which also was a conspiracy in itself. So now this little section is going to be all conspiracies. There's only a few, but they actually do hold some light. It's weird. But the first one is the autopsy. Booth did have an autopsy. It was a military autopsy, so they had military doctors, surgeons, officers. One of the doctors was a family friend who knew Booth almost all of his life. And when he saw that the tattoo of JWB on the hand, yeah, that lined up, looked at everything else and said that that was not Booth. In the face, like the face was not Booth's. Some other elements of his body was not Booth's. And literally Stanton basically dismissed him after that. After he made that comment, he told him to kind of get out. They had a surgeon, like a union surgeon, write down all these things. He kind of filled it out and said that was Booth, even though he never met Booth. They did take a photo, which then Stanton had immediately destroyed after. So why take a photo just to have it destroyed? Really weird. Another one, like you see in the show, is Stanton reading the diary pages. But his son says, is there anything in there that's going to hurt your reputation? Stanton says, oh, you don't have to worry about that. When his son leaves, you see Stanton rip out several or a dozen pages and throw them in the fireplace. Booth's diary does have ripped out pages, and they weren't from Booth. So somebody who had the diary in real life, one of the soldiers took the journal and gave it to like a detective that worked for the War Department. He, in turn, gave it to another man once it got to DC. And that man then gave it to Stanton. So there's literally like 3, 4, 5 hands that went through this diary after it left Booth's body. Someone ripped out pages. One historian said he claimed to have found a few of the pages, but they were also ripped to another time. So it's like they had other missing pages of itself. So it's very like odd. It really is interesting on these missing pages. Again, did Stanton tell Booth what to do? Was Stanton involved in any fashion? Who knows? Or again, many people believe if it was Stanton who ripped it out, did Booth somehow find out about Stanton ordering an assassination on Jefferson Davis? Again, all those things are lost to history now, so we may never know. But I do like the episode. I would have liked to see them go a little bit more of the historical route on this, especially since it is Booth's final episode. I hope to see some maybe flashbacks in the last episode that is later this week. But it's going to be interesting to see how they portray the courtroom trials and how they deal with the conspirators. Well, I got to see if they do it surely historically accurate. So that's really it for this episode. Thank you for watching. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I would really like to read your comments and what you think about this episode. Did you watch the episode? Are you history buff or history nerd? It's like, do you like how the episodes are going? Who knows? So, again, just like, comment, subscribe. Please watch my old content, my present content, and my future content. Please make sure you like those, share some love, and thank you. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.